katulad po ng sinabi ni Leonardo, yung verbal po is technically speaking and magpo-fall over po yung non-verbal sa writing and sign languages and other form of,
Okay, so we've heard
yeah.
two voices now. Okay, Galang had typed. For me, it's verbal. Why did you say that it's under verbal ko, Miss Galang? Okay, while waiting for Miss Galang's answer, sige. Any other thoughts? Baka tinatay pa ni Galang ang kanya sagot, no? How about the rest?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello? Yes, Miss
Information po.
Marinas. Okay.
Um, for me, it's verbal. Uh, as I understood what Miss Leonardo said, I think what she's meant to say is that through verbal, you're speaking words or just typing it. For instance, through text and um, what we read. Nonverbal communication rather is, for instance, when you and your friends look at each other and whenever you see someone that you hate, and you don't really have to speak or to type it out to say to your friend that, oh, I hate this person. You just say it through looking at each other, and I think that is what nonverbal is. Therefore, to answer your question, I think that is verbal for me. Thank you.
Okay. Meron pa ba diyang habol before we put it in a nutshell? Ayun na si Galang. O, timing si Galang, ha? According to Miss Galang, pakibasa nga ang kanyang sagot. Miss Monchato. For me, ma'am.
Ikaw, Dasha, naligo ka na?
Monchato, nakita mo yung chat? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. According to Miss Galang, ma'am, it's verbal because according to the meaning of nonverbal communication, these are the cues that doesn't use words to communicate.
Thank you very much, Miss Monchato.
Ma'am, I have answer also.
Okay, sige, your
I also
answer.
have an answer. Ma'am, I think written communication also lands on the verbal communication because as I have understood po, verbal communications is about the language of transmission of the information. That's why it also lands on the verbal communication because it also has the language that is needed to form when we are doing the verbal communication po. Yun, ma'am.
Okay. Ay, natutuwa ako para sa Marketing 3-2, no? Okay? Magka-clap-clap ako para sa mga participant ngayong araw na to. Okay? Nakakatuwa naman. Alam niyo yung mga, what you call this one, kahit na medyo mahirap sa part-time mga teacher, but na-appreciate namin yung mga estudyante talaga who would unmute themselves, no? And, you know, take the course of conversation na ano siya, higit pa siya sa Gatorade, no? Okay? At mas higit pa siya sa, what you call this one, sa kape. Okay? Na nakakapagpagising sa diwa ng guro. Nahantok na talaga ako pero wala akong choice eh, no? Okay. The answers of all your classmates, whether they believe that it's under non-verbal or verbal, okay, the effort definitely are acknowledged, no? So, congratulations to those who participate. The correct answer is, it falls under verbal ko, okay? Again, the word for the day, misconstrued concept. Ayan. The reason why some of the students see written communication written communication might fall under nonverbal communication, it's because of the absence of voice, no? It's because of the absence of, sound, okay? Pero kung makikita nyo kanina, no, yung shinare sa screen ko sa inyo, di ba, sabi nga ni, okay, Donald Graves, no? Are you seeing my screen again? Can you see my screen once again, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, kung makikita natin sa words ni Donald Graves, no, voice is the imprint of ourselves in our writing. Take the voice away and there's no writing, just words following words, okay? So, to really push through, no, okay, the belief and the claim of scholarly individuals in the work of writing, okay, written texts such as letters, okay, literatures, poetry, short story, novels, articles, researchers or researches, okay, feasibility studies, all right, description of a newly bought cell phone, all right. We are talking about, actually, it won't, pero anyway, when we read manuals, no, manuals are made by human beings. Literature and poetries are written by writers and authors who are also known as
Kaya
human
water
beings.
ka
So,
muna.
whenever we write our own poetry, and whenever
Kasi
we read, for example, a written literature, okay?
water ka
For
muna.
example, the words of, what do you call this one? The words of Joyce Kilmer's Tree, diba? I think that
Tagal
I
ni
shall never
Tintin, ah.
see a poem as lovely as Tree. Elizabeth Browning's Sonnet of the Portuguese, no? Okay, Sonnet 18, okay, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to depth and breadth and height, okay? My soul can reach when feeling out of sight. This can be uttered verbally, okay? And whenever we hear short stories narrated, no, poetries spoken, reports, no, delivered in front of a supervisor, okay, they add meaning and life to the written text, okay. What makes a written text really falls under verbal form, okay, in the absence of those spoken words, when it's actually riveted in our eyes, no, when our eyes are oculesics, no, meron tayong tinatawag na non-verbal communication, sinasabi kanina ng classmate yung pag nagkatitigan na ng ganun, no need for words, no? And they know what they actually mean, okay? But when we communicate with something that is written, okay, we can still hear the voice of the writer as we decode, as we interpret, okay, the symbols, no? So writing is made up of symbols, and the symbols does not only comes in the form of illustration, okay? The symbols here are represented by orthography, okay? So when we talk about of orthographic symbolization, in layman's term, it is called as the letters, no? The combination of the letters turns out to create words, and these words, no, would create some sort of spelling. Just like what you see right now on your screen. The letters I, and then E, okay, sound like, so if we're going to combine the IEA sound, no, the phonetic symbol of letters, VOICE, okay, the sound is ganon, no? Parang na-ebs lang, no? Pero ganun kasi yon sa speech ko, no? When you are asked about the sound, what's the sound of letter V, okay? The stop plosive bilabial V sound, okay? Fricative sound, whereas your lower lip touches your upper teeth ridge and then you blow, creating the sound of okay, V. It's different from F, no? Kasi F is alright, so yan, mararamdaman niyo yan pag diray niyo sa bahay niyo ngayon, okay? Placing your upper lip, no? Okay? And then blowing the sound of, okay? Creating a friction between the two part of your articulator organs, no? Blowing it, pronouncing the sound of V, okay? That's the sound. What are we talking about, ma'am? The letter. The letter stands for that intertwining, okay? Slanting, vertical, is it vertical? Okay, slanting horizontal lines, okay, meeting together, creating, okay, that symbol, no, which is known as letter B. So when you combine them together, it's spelled out as voice. Okay, so when we talk about the voice, this has something to do with the sound which is produced, no, by an entity, a living organism. Okay, it can be natural, it can be organic, or it can be man-made. Okay, so when we talk about the voice of an individual, yun, yung oral voice at yung voice na naka-insert doon sa mga letters niya. Okay, so yung ganong klaseng sound na mababasa nyo, halimbawa, walang nagbabanggit, walang nag-utter ng sound, pero makikita nyo yung isang classmate nyo umiiyak. Ba't ka umiiyak? Eh, kasi yung sulat eh. Okay? Ba't siya naiyak because of the sulat? The sulat is made up not only of letters but also of emotions, no? Emotions that flourish whenever one would intertwine and interpret the words, no, seen on that written text. Okay? Take away the voice away and there's no writing. Just words following words. Okay? That's why when we talk about the literature in technical writing in the upcoming days, there's no problem about emotion in terms of literature. Okay, literature is really flourishing, overwhelming it with emotion. When we talk about the business writing, emotion is still there, but the only difference is when you write a business correspondence, no, you have to be formal in a way that you will be felt by the receiver, okay, to take heed of your request, whether to apply for the job or to terminate or shall we say resign from the position or to appeal for a request a request of a new laptop in your office, no? Okay, or shall we say recommending someone, okay, that you really know or would portray the role, no, of a good manager, no? Okay, because you have established good relationship with that person, no? So letters of recommendation, letters of congratulations, letter of sympathy for the bereaved family, no? Okay, who have lost their loved one because of the virus, letter of recognition of one's performance, letter of maraming uri ng sulat, no? So hindi naman natin sinasabi na kailangang pag formal ka wala kang maramdaman, pero the words itself, no, okay, in a written text already holds meaning and sound. That's why they still fall under what we call as verbal communication. And your classmate is correct. It's made up of language, no? And language are made up of sentences. Sentences are made up of phrases, clauses, phrases, words, letters, and sounds. Remember, phonema, more phonemes and morphemes, no? Okay, and then words. All right. Naintindihan niyo po ba, children? Wala kayong
Yes po,
tanungan?
ma'am.
Okay,
Okay
maliwanag na.
po.
Okay, so dahil maliwanag ang lahat, alam naman natin na spoken and written forms of communication should always develop a meaningful, exchange, no? Or patterns of conversation. Okay, so pag hindi meaningful, walang bearing. Pag walang bearing, walang kwenta. Pag walang kwenta, sayang sa oras, no? Kaya pag halimbawa sa kaso ko, whenever I would remind the future teachers, I always tell them, before you face your students, you have to strategize, okay? How to deliver, no? If your group of students, for example, are ECE, my style of conversing with the ECE is depending on the jargons that I have for the ECE people. When I communicate with the marketing, this is how I do it. When I communicate with the math and English and ELE Filipino students, this is how Ma'am Jess would, establish that form of communication. It vary, okay? The meaning vary depending upon the kind of audience that you have. So the goal is always, no, to know who, not only who your audience are, but to also know who you are as a speaker. Preparado ka ba? Alam mo ba ang sinasabi mo? Okay? Makakapagbigay ka ba ng halimbawa yung sa mga complicated na parte ng asignatura mo na hindi alam ng mga estudyante mo. Okay? So, whenever we communicate, meaning is an added feature, no, during our conversation. Okay? So, napakalaking hamon every time that we would communicate through writing and speaking, okay? And leaving a mark to our audience or our reader, okay, to the point that it will not be a temporal experience. Intindihan niyo ba ibig sabihin ng temporal experience, children? Temporary.
Yes, ma'am.
Pag sabing temporary,
Panandalian po.
Panandalian lang po.
so hindi na
Hindi
siya
po siya
panandali.
magiging take away.
Okay. Hindi siya magiging take away, no? Take me away na lang, no? To a secret place na lang, gano'n na lang siya. Okay? Hindi siya magiging, may take away ka, pero yung take away mo is hindi siya gano'n, yung gravity niya is hindi kasi compared dun talaga, wow, ang taray, ang dami ko natutunan. Wow, ang ganda ng pelikula, oh my God. I really like the, what you call this one, the
Hanapin mo sa
music, no?
drawing.
Very moving. Okay? Hindi ganun yung impact, no? Doon sa tao. So, whenever we communicate, mahalaga that we should be able to establish, no, meaning. Hindi lang siya panandalian na kaligayahan sa mata, okay, sa tenga, okay, sa pakiramdam, kundi dapat permanent yung effect niya. Okay? So pagkatapos ito, in-expect ko, no, na the marketing 3.2 will be able to apply, no, the significance of adding meaning whenever they would communicate, no, with their family, with their friends, and once they become a professional, what they call worker. Okay? So again, these are the elements of the communication process that are definitely necessary whenever we do, no, the communication line. Okay? Now, may kulang dito, yung tinatawag nating noise, no? Okay? Dalawa ang klase ng noise, psychological and environmental. So, the hardest one to control, obviously, is the psychological or psychological noises. Okay? Yung environmental noise, we can do away with that. Okay? It's either we can communicate with a person, telling them to please put your radio in, silence mode for a while because we're having conversation, or you can get out from that place and find a much